Hey there friends, Matt here with Peppercoat Barbecue and welcome back to the Peppercoat Deck. Today I'm going to be taking the S1 and the Breezo and attaching that to my fairly new Weber Kettle. Now if you're like me, I didn't want to drill a hole in this brand new Weber Kettle, so I'm going to show you a way that you can turn your grill into a smart grill with no drill. Start this upgrade, we're just going to take off our thermometer that came on this Master Touch kettle and replace that with the hub and with the S1. Now, if you have a premium, a Master Touch, or a Performer series, it already has the hole here, and so you don't even have to drill anything. This is a really easy and quick change. Just take the wing nut off your thermometer. Get that out, and then replace that with the housing for your S1 hub. So step one's done, and if all you're looking for is a little digital upgrade, then there you go. But we want to go all the way. So to attach the Breezo, remove your charcoal grates, get everything out of your grill. And this modification will work better if you have the P-shaped vents. So the Premier, the Master Touch, the Performer series is going to be your best option for this modification. Now it will work on the Classic, I'll show you that in a minute, but it is going to restrict your airflow a little more. You're going to want to clean the area directly around your vents. Now depending on how old and nasty your grill is, this may be a little more difficult and take a little more time, and you may have to get a scrape and scrape some gunk off of there. Then you want to take your Breezo and work these springs on the Breezo up through one of the vents. Now if you have the Classic model, you'll see what this will look like, and it's really going to restrict your airflow. So I'm not saying that it's not going to work, but I do not think that it will work as well as it does on the models that has this P-shaped air vent. There you go, Breezo attached. Wait, Matt, what about all the holes? Well, that's where this comes in. This is a fire retardant aluminum tape. So make sure that you're not using duct tape, Scotch tape, none of that mess. You want a fire retardant aluminum tape. I picked this whole roll up for like $7 at Harbor Freight. It does work. Actually, I've tested this a few times. I've already used the Breezo and the S1 on the Weber, so this works. Just cut your tape in pieces long enough to cover these holes. And then, of course, over here, you're just covering the bottom of this hole. There are two mounting brackets that come with the Breezo that can be used with Kamado type smokers. And I have found it very useful to use the smaller one in here also. I think it just gives a little better hold to the Breezo, helps it fit in here just a little better and seal off. So you just take this bracket, line the notches up with your spring, and pop it into place. So as you can see, this is a very easy, no drill setup that takes probably 5 minutes. You can take it on and off of the grill if you want to use it for direct heat. Now, there is one issue with placing the Breezo down here this close to the bottom. When your ash falls through, there is the possibility that that ash could fall into the Breezo. Hot coals could fall down into the Breezo, but that's okay. Where there's a problem, there's a solution. And I'm going to give you two. If you're setting up for a low and slow overnight cook, just take something like this fire brick, lay directly over the top of that, and there's still plenty of room for air to come around this brick. You can place your charcoal grate in here, load that down with charcoal, and then you could use something like this lava lock diffuser plate to put in there. And this would give you plenty of burn time for a nice low and slow cook. And I'll be using this setup in the near future for a pork butt, so make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on those notifications so you don't miss it. For option number 2, we're taking our charcoal grate, we're covering at least half to 3/4 of that with aluminum foil, and I'm going to put that directly over the side where my air vent is coming up. That's going to force all the air over here to this side. Fill this side with charcoal. Gonna light a tumbleweed under one side of the charcoal. And this gives you room to use a water pan or a drip pan in here if you prefer. I've got my grate in the grill. I'm gonna go ahead and put the lid on. Now I'm gonna turn this lid to where my vent is on this side, and the vents are all the way open for now. And the reason I'm doing that is I have the Breezo here. It's pushing air in on this side in the bottom, but remember it's bringing it across up through the fire. And then I want that heat to come back across the top of the ribs and out the vent over here. So now all I have to do is get my desired temperature set up in the app. The app allows you to set temperatures for internal probes, which we're not using today, but it also allows you to set high and low alarms on the S1 to make sure everything stays in check. And it allows you to go into the Breezo. From here, you can turn it on or off, and you can also set your desired temperature. I'm also going to close the vent on this lid, maybe about halfway for now. Once I settle in around that 250 degree mark, I wanted to check the temperature over here on the vent side. I've seen some people relocate the thermometer over here, but you can see they're both running really close, so I don't see any reason why you need to drill another hole over here. We just hit our 250 degree mark, so I want to limit some of the airflow that's coming in here now. So I'm going to go ahead and close this dial down here on the Breezo. This is the same thing that I do when I'm using this on the Oklahoma Joe's Bronco and even on my Pecos. And when it needs more air, the fan will cut on, draw in what it needs, and regulate those temperatures. It's very important when you're using the Breezo fan that you pulse that fan. When I take the lid off, of course, it's going to send a message to the fan saying the temperature has dropped. So the fan is going to run wide open, which is going to cause more fire. Then when you put the lid back on, it's going to be too hot. So to prevent that, there's a pause button here. It's the power button. Just click that one time and it pauses the fan. Now you can take the lid off, do what you need to do, and get the lid back on there. Just know the longer you have that lid off, the more oxygen you introduce. And so naturally, the more heat you're going to have. So you're probably going to have a little bit of a temperature spike anytime you take the lid off and put it back on. Also grabbed a couple of chunks of cherry here that I want to add while I got this open. Give us just a little more flavor. I'm going to put my ribs right over here with the side that's just a little bit thicker towards the fire. I'm not going to share the entire cook with you today, but I do want to share the graph from the cook because, hey, I get it, you got trust issues. But you can see that our temperature came up really quickly here to 250. That's what we set it at. And then for the first 3 hours before I wrapped, you can see that we were holding pretty steady. Now there are some spikes and some valleys. Every time I took the lid off, of course, there was a valley, there was a dip in temperature. You put the lid back on, there's more oxygen in there, it slowly climbs up. And every time that I open this to spritz, I did close the vent down on top just a little more. Now, by the time that we get over here, this last little flat area that you see right here before it spikes up, at that point, I had that top vent closed down to maybe 1/8 to 1/4 of the way open, and that seemed to do really well. The Breezo was doing its job. When it would suffocate the fire out enough, it needed oxygen, it would pump more oxygen in, and there was no dirty smoke or anything during any of this cook. So that worked really well. Now right over here, you'll see the spike. I bumped the Breezo up to 300 degrees. I took the ribs off at this point, wrapped them, and this last hour and a half over here, you can see that it held steady. I didn't have the lid open any during this time. I was just trying to get them finished out while they were wrapped. Now, this is where I stopped recording because at this point I unwrapped them. I took them off to sauce them, put them back on the grill, open the vents all the way, let the heat come up a little more just to tack up that sauce for a few minutes. And that's where we're picking back up. The S1, the Breezo, and the Weber Kettle paired together made an awesome rack of ribs. So there's a really nice bark on these ribs, beautiful color. When I cut them open, there's a little bit of a smoke ring in there. They had a great smoky flavor. They were tender. They would pull off the bone, but they still had a little bit of bite to them. So just a great rib all the way around. If you're interested in this mod, if you're interested in ChefsTemp or anything they have to offer, you can check out this link that I will put here on the screen. But I just wanted to put this video out to show you that you do not have to drill a hole in your Weber Kettle to do this modifications. So I hope this helped you a little bit today. Now don't forget, I will have a cook coming up in the near future where I will be using the S1 and the Breezo with the Weber Kettle and that lava lock diffuser plate for a long cook with a Boston butt. So you're gonna wanna see that, and I'll see you here next time on Pepper Go Barbecue.